The rain began its descent the moment the last sliver of daylight slipped behind the mountains. As though the sky itself had decided to mourn early, a fine mist rolled down the hillside and curled around the small wooden house where Diep lived, quiet. Breathless, suspended between fear and expectation. Inside, the dim yellow glow of an oil lamp flickered against the rough walls. Stretching trembling shadows across the floorboards, James stood by the doorway, a silhouette carved from worry and thunder. The weight he carried pressed into his shoulders, hollowed his eyes, slowed his breath. He had faced boardrooms, storms, and crises that would unmake lesser men. But tonight, he looked like someone stripped bare, someone frightened of losing everything he still cared for. Diep sat on the edge of her small bed, her hands clasped so tightly her knuckles had turned white. She didn't need an explanation, she felt it in her bones. The air itself seemed to brace for impact. Tonight was different. James walked toward her, slowly, deliberately, his footsteps soft but heavy. When he knelt in front of her, the intensity in his gaze made her heart tremble. "Diep," he whispered, his voice roughened by exhaustion and fear. "Tomorrow, everything will change." She swallowed, her voice barely a breath. "James, you don't have to face this alone." But he shook his head quickly, as if terrified she might offer him a way out he could not accept. He took her hands, his warm but trembling with desperation. "I have to," he said. "If I don't confront them, if I don't expose the truth, they'll keep hurting everyone around me." "And they'll come for you." The words sliced through her. "They'll come for me." Danger had always followed him, but hearing it from his own lips made it real in a way she wasn't prepared for, real. James lowered his forehead to her hands. Close, cold, his voice broke when he spoke again. "Diep, if I fail, will you leave me?" The question shattered her. Tears welled in her eyes before she could stop them. For days she had sold guava in the market, smiling, pretending life was normal, concealing her trembling heart while praying he was safe. She had been strong when she wanted to collapse, hopeful when despair gnawed at her ribs. And now he asked whether she would walk away. She lifted his chin gently so he would meet her gaze. "James," she said softly, her voice trembling but unwavering, "I will not leave you." Not ever. Only then did he allow himself to breathe. "Not tomorrow." He leaned into her and pulled her into his arms. Holding her as if the world outside their fragile shelter were already falling apart. The storm thickened, but inside the small house, their promise glowed like a lamp fighting the darkness. Dawn arrived too soon. The storm had passed, leaving behind the sharp scent of wet earth and the uneasy quiet that follows chaos. Diep tied her hair back, packed her basket with guava picked during the early morning hours, and headed toward the market. The world looked the same, but she did not feel the same. Each unfamiliar face made her wonder if someone was watching her. Each shifting shadow felt like a warning. She tried to dismiss the fear, to honor the promise she made to James, to stay strong. But her steps were slower. To stay with him, her breath heavier. Under the old tamarind tree, she forced herself into routine. Kaoi mtoi di. If it's sweet, please support me, she called out, handing samples with practiced politeness. They bought. They tasted. People smiled. Diep thanked each one, grateful for the illusion of normal life. A man stood across the road. Then she saw him, not moving, not talking, not buying. Her breath tightened. Just watching, she looked away, pretending she hadn't noticed. But the hairs on her arms bristled with dread. She had seen him before, once near the alley where she bought vegetables. She had convinced herself it was coincidence. Another time by the bridge, her heart hammered against her ribs. Not anymore. But not today, James. You said they might come for me, is this what you meant? A familiar voice broke through her spiraling fear. Diep. She turned, startled, and relieved, to see Fat approaching, carrying a bag of groceries. But his expression was grave, his steps tense. Why do you look so pale? What happened? I'm fine. Fat didn't believe her. Just tired, she lied. His eyes flicked to the man across the road. The man instantly looked away. Diep, Fat whispered, you shouldn't stay here alone. I have to work. He stepped closer. I need to tell you something. Lowering his voice. It's about James. Her heart stuttered. What happened? Fat glanced around, ensuring no one could overhear. And so are you. He's in danger. Last night, they were supposed to kill him. The basket nearly slipped from her hands. The person they really want to hurt, Fat continued, is you. The world around her blurred. The market's lively noise dissolved into a distant drone. All she could hear was her heartbeat pounding in her ears. Why me? She whispered. Because hurting you is the fastest way to break him, Fat said. They know James will lose everything, focus, strength, hope, if you're in danger. Her knees weakened. She steadied herself against her basket. The man across the road was gone. Fat continued, voice low. Somehow that made it worse. James told me that if he fails tomorrow, he might never come back. That's why he asked you that question last night. Diep closed her eyes. If I fail, will you leave me? She understood now, every tremor in his voice. Every flicker of fear he had tried to hide. Tell me everything, she whispered, no more secrets. Fat exhaled. James's father, the man who ruined John's family, that story is bigger than we thought. The people involved are powerful. Dangerous. James found proof that could expose them. He's going to confront them tomorrow. And John? Diep asked. He wants revenge. He wants James to lose everything: career, freedom, love. Especially love. Fat added. John's men have been following you. They were the ones in the alley. They're watching you to control him. A wave of nausea hit her. So what do I do? You need to leave town. James asked me to get you somewhere safe. If anything happens to you, he won't be able to fight. Diep looked at her basket, her small livelihood, but then something inside her shifted. Her small world. I won't run, she said softly. I won't hide. He's risking everything for the truth. I can't abandon him. Diep, no, she said more firmly. If they want to hurt me to break him, then I won't let them win. Fear transformed into determination. She would not be a weapon used against him. Not ever. Not now. By the time Diep returned home, the sky had already begun to dim again. Her steps were heavy, her heart heavier. She lit the oil lamp, watching the flame sway and stretch shadows across the room. A soft knock at the door made her freeze. Diep, a familiar voice murmured. She opened the door. James stood there, exhausted, disheveled, alive. Sweat dampened his hair. His shirt was wrinkled as if he had run the entire way from danger to her. She threw her arms around him. For a moment, the world shrank to the size of their embrace. I'm sorry, he whispered into her hair. I promised myself I wouldn't come. It's too dangerous. Then why did you? Because I needed to see you one more time before tomorrow. She pulled back. Reading the raw exhaustion etched into his features. Fat told me everything, she said. James stiffened. Why didn't you tell me they were after me? Why did you carry this alone? He swallowed hard. Because loving you is the only part of my life that feels pure. The only thing I wanted untouched by all this ugliness. Her voice softened. I'd rather live in fear with you, than live in peace without you. He trembled. Silence settled, soft, fragile, sacred. Finally he spoke. Tomorrow? If something goes wrong, if I don't come back, don't say that. You need to hear it, he insisted, taking her hands and lacing their fingers together. If I fail, you must leave town. Don't wait for me, don't risk your life for a man who couldn't protect you. Tears blurred her vision. Not now. James, I won't leave you, not ever. He shook his head. Not tomorrow, Diep, promise me. She looked at him, this man who had fought battles alone. Who had suffered silently, who had loved her fiercely, desperately. She finally understood. This wasn't about abandonment. It was about his terror of hurting her. I can't promise that, she whispered, because I will not abandon you, no matter what comes. He closed his eyes, pained and comforted all at once. Then he pulled her into his arms, holding her with that fragile, desperate tenderness that only comes before an unknown dawn. And in the stillness of that night, beneath the tremor of danger and the threat of dawn, they simply breathed together, not knowing if this would be their last moment of peace.